Welcome to Always On to Smallville. In this podcast, we talk about each and every episode of the Young Superman show that ran from 2001 to 2011 on the WB and the CW. We are back with our level 33.1, number 8, our new 52 level 33.1. And with me this time from Always On to Star Wars, Chris Fuchs. What's up, Chris?
Hello there.
And Isaiah Goodridge. What's up, Isaiah?
Hola, how y'all doing?
Doing well, doing well. Now it's been a while since we had one of these. So we have no syllabus or
Yeah,
to talk
no
about.
agenda here.
Agenda is probably the more appropriate word. Yeah,
Maybe we'll talk about Superman.
that's a fair bet.
Good character,
I
right?
think you like him, right?
How are you guys liking Always on Smallville so far? What are your favorite episodes of the show?
That
I
host
can
just keeps
answer that
shitting on
off.
the show.
He's constantly nitpicking, He's doing this count about y'all remember when we're supposed to have 50 Kent truck crashes and we're at what, 10 or something now?
Well, that was Lance last year. He said 50, and I told him there weren't going to be 50. Now, however,
That's
I think
insane.
I think by the end of the first season there were 5, and I was like, ooh, you do the math.
So we would have been potentially on track.
Right.
Yeah.
But now that the
Blaming
kids are off
all-
the show,
Blaming all the failed categories on your friends, like Lana kills.
yeah, that's a great point, Chris. I'm a bad friend. No, I'm too good of a friend because I let categories get on this board when they shouldn't be. No,
He said I'm too giving. That's the
yeah,
problem.
I care too much. I work too hard, and whatever else Michael Scott said when he was trying to get that job. So yeah, so Smallville, y'all. Hey, this calendar year we're gonna be done talking about episode by episode coverage. There'll be other things to come in the future, but it's hard for me to believe we're halfway through season 9. As of this recording, we're more than halfway through season 9, and then season 10 coming up. Oh, no, Isaiah, let's start with you. Season 9 or season 10, which is more enjoyable to you?
Season 10, absolutely. At least for me, because it's the closest we got to the dark trench coat, Neo, Superman is number 2 below. I really like that leather jacket with half zipped up and Clark is making an intention to style his hair more and all that. I'm like, okay, I can kind of dig that. And then I just feel like in season 10 they really lean into the comic bookness of it, even more than season 9.
Okay.
At least to me. Yeah.
What about you, Chris?
I hate to say it because it's disagreeing with you, Zach, but I agree with Isaiah. I think season 10 more for
Yes,
me.
sir.
And I find myself drawn a lot more to the red leather jacket. It doesn't make sense. It's I think the
Just
trench coat and everything is way more Smallville Clark Kent. I feel like I should like that based on how I like things and how I trend, but I just feel drawn to that red leather jacket. I can't
yeah, it's
explain
just
it.
dope, exactly. The little ridges on the arm too. I'm
I
just,
mean,
yeah.
the black makes sense. He gets the black after Doomsday, right? So now after Doomsday he comes out in black. It makes sense. It follows, it tracks. I should like it better, but there's just something about it that I don't know.
Interesting. I'm glad you guys disagree with me. It'd be boring if we were all like, "Yep, this is better than that." Right? Um, I don't know. We'll see how I feel when I get to season 10 in the rewatch because there's certain episodes, Homecoming, Kent, Luthor, Booster. Right? There's just some A+ stuff. But the whole dark side plot, they kind of fumbled, I think, and not entirely their fault because I really applaud them for doing their best with Lex, even though they didn't know if Michael Rosenbaum was going to come back or not.
I believe you mean the darkness, Zach.
Yeah,
Not dark side, just
the
the
coming
darkness.
darkness. Yeah.
Right.
For me, what puts 10 over 9, and it's I think the highs are higher, but season 9 is probably the most succinct story start to finish of the season. Laying the seeds in the beginning and bringing it all the way to the season finale with Zod and the Kandorians that they did a great job with. I wish 10 was more of a linear build up story like that too, because you kind of have where Lex builds up and then drops off, and then you got the minions for Darkseid that work up and then they drop off, and then you have the one-offs where you go to Earth, was it Earth 2, whatever the other Earth is, with Ultraman and
Or Earth 168. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
all you
I
have
don't know.
you
I
have those
guess.
little
Mirror
side
world.
things.
Yeah.
I like the highs are great. Some of the stuff, all the ones you just mentioned. One of my favorite episodes is when Clark and Oliver go to the Phantom Zone. and face off with
Yeah.
both Zods. Like I love that episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I think the highs of 10 bring it up for me over 9,
Yeah.
but 9 is amazing. It's right up there for too.
Yeah, I don't. You're right about. I wish they didn't need to go big with Darkseid. I guess they're like, oh, we went Doomsday, we got Zod, what do we got left? Like, I would have just gone more like. Again, they didn't know what they were gonna do. But like, you focus in on Lex. I'm like, oh, he's back, and now he's gonna be in charge of Metropolis, and like, if you get Michael Rosenbaum for like a few episodes, which was never going to happen. Apparently. Now I don't know if you guys saw we can talk about this. Like as of today, um, Michael Rosenbaum was on Katie Sackhoff's podcast, which she has a new podcast called like blah blah blah.
Did they just sit
All
down
right,
for like
that's a
6
name.
hours one day and record? So because she was just on Inside of You and now he's on blah blah blah. Did they just sit down and do straight podcast recordings between the two?
Well, she was at his place and then he was at her place. They all live in LA though, so like it's pretty easy. Unlike Tom Welling, who lives in the wilderness somewhere in Northern California and is never going to leave his house again, and is never going to be in studio.
He's got
Side
like a
note,
ranch.
yeah, I mean he is Clark Kent. He really is. It's amazing. I love it. But Tom Welling, did you guys not expect him to be in studio for Talkville maybe once or twice a season? I thought, oh, maybe every season premiere and every season finale. I get every week he's not going to be there. Totally get it. I mean, look at us, right? We're all promote here. But I thought, I don't know. It's so funny that in the opening montage, if people watch Talk, I've watched Talkville and I started listening to it, and I'm like, I'm gonna watch it now. So they have this opening montage, and it's like if every season they update it with clips from the season. So good on them. But they always use footage of Tom and Michael together in the studio. I'm like, y'all, that was like 3 years ago. What, Chris? What am I off base here or
No, I thought 100%. I thought like they got it. I thought maybe when it first came out, they were. I mean, when did they come out? Was it this year?
no?
No,
It
it was
was
last year.
Yeah,
Last
it
year. So
was
you're still like
22, yeah.
tail end. If you're in
even before that.
California,
Yeah.
if you're in California, you're still in the pandemic at that point. Uh, so they're hesitant to get together. Like I understand all that, and then of course you had the strike, so
Right.
there wasn't some going. So I could see how there maybe would have been reasons not to. But you thought I would think at least by now you'd have at least one episode.
Tom's like, I'm never leaving my house again. So
And my thing
No,
is,
no
they
flights, no
don't,
tights, no travel.
yeah.
but they don't stream these live. So I figured like you would record like even if not a full season, like just half a season, travel over a weekend or something, knock it out, and then that way you have them backed up, like in the like episodes in the bank, and that way you can have them in person.
I'm pretty
without
sure
having to travel there.
based off the thumbnails, like, because there's some I haven't listened to or watched or whatever. Like, there's a stretch of season 3. I'm like, I think they recorded like 4 of these in one day, based off like whatever Tom and Michael are wearing, and that's why they try to keep him short. Because I'm like, hey, they don't want to sit there for 5 hours. I guess
We have another 3 to record.
Like, keep it moving, people.
You can totally see that season 1 too, because they got like sloppy with their editing a little bit, and just the way they cruise through things. They're sitting there like, all right, here we go. Let's go. Next one. Let's go.
So, hey,
what do we got next coming up? Okay.
All that to say, so Michael Rosenbaum, he was on Katie Sackhoff's podcast, and our friend Craig Byrne from Krypton site wrote an article about. So I'm just gonna quote this little excerpt here about Michael and leaving after season 7. On the podcast, Michael discusses how he was originally only contracted for 6 seasons, but did extend it to include a 7th, as he is very eager to tell everyone, I didn't quit. I stayed longer than they wanted me to. When the time came to sign on beyond that, he was ready to leave, but Warner Brothers television president Peter Roth wanted to meet him for lunch, ostensibly to make an offer. Even though Michael had worked for Roth for over a decade, the interaction was, quote, like the first time he ever met me, Michael says. So bad vibes. According to Michael, Peter Roth proposed a 3-year deal for the exact same amount of money he was getting on his previous contract. That was it, he says. After that, he didn't want to counter and didn't care what they'd offer afterward. That was it. I knew I had to respect myself, and it wasn't worth it. So, hey.
We appreciate the accurate voice you had to
thank you
for that.
Do you think he knew what Tom was getting?
Probably, you know,
Like, do you think?
Tom probably didn't know. Like, oh yeah, I'm making this much. You probably asked for the same. Like Tom, you know, he did.
Yeah, the way they all work now, and like actors and stuff. Like for a good example of it is The Big Bang Theory. The actors banded together to get their coworkers raises and gave up some of theirs. So they clearly are talking about what they're making. I could see Tom and Michael being the friends that they are, having a conversation. Michael's going into negotiation. He knows what Tom's getting, so he sees, okay, you're not going to give me an increase. Tom probably got one.
Well,
Yeah,
Tom
Yeah.
took on
And I
you know,
mean,
a producer role too, like executive
yeah,
producer. So
directing.
yeah,
and it's like, even if you
Tom brought a
don't
lot more to
make
the
what,
show than like you can do the
True,
show
true,
without Michael, as they proved. You can't do the show without Tom.
true, fair
true,
enough, fair
true.
enough. But like, he didn't have to make even as much as Tom. Like, even if he just made more than what he was
Right,
making,
right.
like if the ratio like still existed, but it was just higher, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think he'd ever said this particular thing before. He'd always been like, hey, I was sick of shaving my head. I want to do comedies, right? But I feel like this is like, it's for, you get a little more honest the further away you get from it. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I wanted more money, you know? I don't know what the show looks like if he doesn't leave. Like, I think it kind of run out of stuff to do with his character, right? I mean, as
I was
cool as
about to say,
season 10
it's
was, but
yeah, like, people, and even you were saying in terms of, oh, if he was on, then you would just focus the last season on him and everything. But I'm like, even by season 6 and season 7, they were showing they didn't really know what to do with Lex, like, or have any real meaningful choices for his character or anything like that. So him being around for the extra 3 seasons, I don't know. I think we still get a similar thing in terms of, I guess, what we wouldn't have Tess probably, but
You
other than
could,
that,
you still could.
you think
I
they'd include her even
I
with
think a
Michael?
good, well, they had to add somebody, right, with Kristen and Tom and um like Annette and Jonathan were gone now, and whatever. But Annette and John, I should say. Uh, I think that if they wanted to do a strong storyline with it, they should have separated him and Clark more, because now you got to the point where he knows the secret. They had that big confrontation in the Arctic, and they both went missing. You could have them both come back, but have them come back separately, where either he thinks Lex is still missing, Lex is still doing things in the background, where they have their own separate storylines that don't interact as much. And then you could either bring them together for like a big end of season type confrontation, and move into, I don't know, respective distance, especially now that they know Lex knows the secret. They could have an understanding where Clark doesn't antagonize him or doesn't get involved with Lex because he's afraid what Lex could do knowing about his secret and stuff. And, you know, Lex has that comic book-ish Lex Luthor opinion of Clark in the Blur, where he hates him, he wants to upstage him, and he wants to be the hero of Metropolis. I think they could have done some interesting things
I
there.
mean, I would have loved that dynamic of like, that's what you wanted to see. Like, these guys know who each other were for years and they move on to the Superman part of it. But then, that's why the series finale is so disappointed with the mind wipe. I'm like, oh, well, what was all this for? you know, like part of me is like, damn, like what if what I think you had to bring Michael Rosenbaum back. Like without him coming back, the finale, the whole show like just falls apart. Like I know he was only there for a day and a handful of scenes, but him being there meant a lot. But I'm like, but if he doesn't come back, then they don't erase his memory. But then he's dead, so I guess there is that. So I don't know what the answer is, but yeah, I don't know. Like I would have loved, we would have loved to see 3 more years of him. But I mean, he needed to come back, like, but he would never do it like as a guest star, I guess, like popping in and out. Like he was either all in or not. Like
No,
he didn't
yeah,
even come back and
especially,
do the
yeah, no.
yeah.
Oh no, good, good, good.
But like even like season 8, like they're like, I think they thought, oh well, we'll have him do the voice, right, for Darth Lex, right? I mean, he's voice actor Michael Rosenbaum. He can do this, what? But they didn't even do that. No, I mean, maybe a waste of money to have like, but I don't know. But that wasn't even like he didn't even do that. When I'm like, dude, like throw him a bone, like John Shan, Lois and Clark. He died in the first season, came back every season, a couple episodes here and there. He did a voiceover thing, over a audio tape. I'm like, that's how you keep the character going or alive after you leave the show. And like, hey, look, I mean, look, Michael, when he was done, he was done. I respect that. Um, and
I
then
mean,
ultimately,
he wasn't really getting work though, was he? At
there
that
was that
point?
show on Fox where he was like, I don't even know the name of it anymore. He was like somebody's boyfriend or something. You know what I'm talking about? It's like it was
Let me
around that
look this
time.
up.
Look
When
it
did
up,
he do
Isaiah.
like that Impastor?
That was after. That was like after season 10.
Okay. So like I mean, he could have done guest spots. He could have done a few episodes here and there. I think it's you got to think it's a little bit ego at that point.
But because everybody else, Annette O'Toole comes back, John Schneider comes back, John Glover comes back, and we're not just talking like an episode here. Or it's like no, in season 10 they were all in multiple episodes and they played very big roles. Both of them, or all three of the parent characters I just mentioned.
Mhm.
Oh, it's probably called Breaking In.
That's the one. That's the one. He's like, he's himself. I think he's just some goofy guy in t-shirts and stuff. Anyway, yeah, that's all I can remember him doing around that time. So I don't. But hey, what about Kristen Kurek? Like, were you guys disappointed that she didn't come back for season 10 at least to wrap it up? What do you think, Chris?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, I'm shaking my head no too. I didn't even want her to come back season 8. Well,
Well,
I would have.
Isaiah, you had a very strong take about it. So you happy?
Well,
You didn't,
yes, of
yeah.
course. Of course. Like, come on. Let's just can we be real here for a second? Like, Lana is supposed to be like his first love from back in high school. After 10 years, we are not still dealing with this character of like a will they, won't they, Lana, I love you, all this. Like, bro, come on. That's if the show were taking liberties in terms of Lana was actually who he was going to be with full time, then fair enough. But I'm like, once you introduce Lois, and especially come season 8, when she turns into like the comic book version of Lois and a recognizable version, we don't need to bring in Lana again. What are we doing? No.
Yeah, I
No.
think I've gone on the record saying this before. Like, I was all for Klana through season 7. Like, I was okay with them getting together and finally having everything in season 7. But when season 7 ended and they break off and go their separate ways, and you start to bring Lois in a romantic sense, I even at that point, I'm okay with Lana coming back, just not coming back with Clark. Yeah, I wish she came back and they had like a mutual respect for each other. And like we've been to hell and back together, but we know that we're not endgame for each other. So we're friends, we're understanding. They could be partners. It's just the fact that they brought them back again romantically is what really bothered me and made it so that like, I'm glad she didn't come back again, because the whole reason they're not together is because now she's infused with kryptonite.
It's
So they
because she has
literally
kryptonite
can't.
poison. Yeah. Literally.
Well, that's the only, honestly, and that being the reason why they're not together. It's kind of the only reason I maybe wanted to come back for one episode to kind of clean all that up. Is it's like she can come back, hey, I'm cured. And you can see how Clark he doesn't choose her over Lois because she's normal now. Like he chooses Lois because that's who he should be with. Like that, but much like the escape episode in season 9, where they clean up the mess of like Clark and Chloe and Lois and Oliver, all these weird relationship paths they all had together. Like they needed that to clean all that up. Yeah, it could have used one episode to kind of clean up Lana and Clark. And because I mean Lana was here for 7 years, 7.5, 7 and change, whatever. And it's just a really weird note to end that character on. And not that I want to revisit it, really. I feel like they could have.
I think Homecoming would have been a good opportunity for that.
Yeah.
Ooh, that is a good one.
Like he one last time he visits her and they say goodbye and that's that. Just like one day of shooting, 2 scenes for Kristen Kurek and she's living off somewhere else, as Lana is prone to do on this show. The girl who never leaves Smallville. That's Lana Lang, and this Lana Lang, she's everywhere. See, TV didn't work like this back then, but like if it did, like I would have had her actually leave in season 3. I go to Paris. Maybe she comes back in season 4, 5, or 6. I don't know. But then then you feel bad, like, what, you just fired Kristen Kurek? I'm like, I don't want to do that, but I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. But I think everybody can agree that's one of the weakest parts. And I don't know. I don't know.
She got the tattoo and she was like drawn to come back.
Yes. Yeah, not that I've been rewatching the episodes, but I'm like kind of reliving them through Talkville right now because they're in season 4. I'm like, yeah, that's all. It's all pretty dumb. Yeah, season 4 and all. It's not great. Yeah. So I mean, Lex needed some. I mean, although they killed him off, you can't leave it like that. I mean, I guess like, oh well, Dr. Fate said or whatever, right? Like he'll come back. But I'm
Yeah,
glad they
I
didn't.
always never really bought that he was really in that truck that Oliver blew up. I always thought it was going to be some,
That was a
wi-
clone or something.
yeah, like some twist later
Yeah.
on, like he wasn't really there. Turns
What
out he was,
do
but
we think the Lex Zero from the series finale is the original Lex, or do we think that's like some because the episode itself is like, oh, this is a perfect clone of all the pieces except for his weird hand because he has the glove in
Yeah,
the
I was about
future.
to say I thought the episode said he was a clone of Lex.
It says that, but everything surrounding that says it's like, and he's Lex Zero. He's like underground, you know. So I'm like, he's got a weird hand. Maybe it's because the fortress fell on him. Like they could have said, "Hey, this is the original Lex," and the other one was a clone, but they never. They didn't seem very interested in that. The
Oh, and
connective tissue is he's
confirming.
wearing that mask that Darth Lex was wearing. Like that's a cool connective tissue. Like when Rosenbaum shows up, he takes that mask off. I'm like, oh, okay. But what is that?
how did he get back there then from the Arctic when his own team couldn't even find him?
Well, I mean, it's the same. Where did he show up in season 8? Like that Lex was that. The same question applies, you know.
Mm.
So I don't
Yeah, I
know.
would rather believe it's a clone.
Well,
Yeah,
It would just
I
be
meant
too
if it's a
stupid.
body, if it's a body that needed to be reanimated or brought back, like it was in season 10.
yeah. I don't know.
Like the one that was going around in season 8
In the
was
truck.
still alive, essentially. So
Yeah.
could have
How did the season 10 clone old Lex, the guy who created Cyborg on the show, Mackenzie Gray, Jack Sir from Man of Steel? How did he know that like Lois was like Clark's love interest now? He's been dead for like a year and a half, right?
they broke the cloning rules.
Well, no, I mean, yeah,
He's got
like
memories, right?
that's the thing about memory. You can't forget them until they erase my memory at the end of this episode. Um, yeah, like they shouldn't have any memories, but even then Smallville was like, okay, I guess if you're a clone, you remember your life up to the point you were cloned. I'm like, well, when were you cloned then? Right? And when did the Clark and Lois weren't a thing till later? So I don't know. That's sloppy. That's why season 9's better than season 10, y'all. Because
Ah.
it's a shame they didn't get a last scene between John Glover and Michael Rosenbaum. You know, it wouldn't have been the same. Maybe it's for the best they didn't because like Descent is a great highlight of season 7, and how do you top that as their last scene together where he kills Lionel? Like, oh, he's talking to Earth through Lionel. Like, who cares? That's not his real dad.
Well,
Either that or like a dark side avatar of Lionel or something.
I mean, was that really I mean that's a good thing to talk about. So Earth 168 Lionel, would he give his life for Lex?
Yeah, I think every Lionel would in their own twisted way.
Didn't that Lionel wasn't that Lionel like obsessed with Clark?
Yeah, but he was like, he was mad that like Clark hadn't killed him yet, because like you're supposed to take, something. So there was, he had some weird family stuff going on over there. So I think that's why he was like, well, if I have my son back, right, and we can take it from there. So I get it,
Well,
because
they said
their
too, like
relationship,
didn't he find like journals from that
that,
Earth's Lionel and
that's so BS. He's like, oh, he made a journal. The hell he did. That's
so
Lionel
maybe
did not make
Okay.
it.
maybe he
Because
became enamored with Lex from this Earth's Lionel.
I don't know. It's so much of season 10 is like compromised because they did not know if Michael Rosenbaum was going to be back. As I understand it, like they thought they could get Michael Rosenbaum back for Lazarus, even. Like that clone was going to be just Michael Rosenbaum, you know? Nope. Like there can only be one Lex
Okay.
Luthor, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. And this is either he's going to be the one this season popping around, or maybe, I don't know. But like, of course, Michael Hard, no. I remember, I've said it many times on the podcast. So I remember that Entertainment Weekly article where like, it was like 2 months before the finale. It's like Michael Rosenbaum says no. I'm like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? I've wasted 10 years of my life watching this show. And thank God he came back. But that's the thing, right? They could never, and I get why they were holding out, right? Like we can recast him and act like he's the same or something. I don't know. Like I guess you could have, but it's not. I ultimately it's really messy, but I'm glad they got back to Rosenbaum. But I don't
I,
know,
I'm
y'all.
I'm shocked they didn't pull something from like the burn run of the comics and put him in his younger self's body, Lucas Grabeel or whatever, the guy who played Connor.
Yeah,
I'm
but
surprised he didn't actually
Oh.
become the Lex, kind
just
of
have him
like
be that younger guy. Yeah.
yeah, like in the comics when
Hmm.
Lex faked his or staged his own death when he flew that plane and he flew the experimental plane and then disappeared. It blew up. Everyone thought he died. Then all of a sudden he showed back up as that like red-haired Australian guy. You guys know what I'm
That'd
talking
have been a
about?
Lex
take.
Luthor the second during the Death of
Comic book
Superman.
run.
Yeah, that's why you can never properly adapt the Death of Superman, because it's like, why is Supergirl some alien goo creature and Lex Luthor is a younger clone of himself? Like, it's just people are like, what? I don't understand.
Well, because that's not really Supergirl, right? Like she just took on
The
Supergirl as
Matrix
like an
Supergirl.
homage.
Yeah, it's
She's
comics
a
are weird.
shapeshifter.
Yeah,
That's terrible.
so strange. No, they could have. The problem with like that doing that, Chris, is like these are already the young versions of the character, so it's like that Lex was like, old, fat, balding, dying Lex, and like young, vibrant Lex. It was, anyway. I see what you mean though, and that
Well,
was
if you couldn't get Rosenbaum,
yeah. I mean, they did good on them. They got the same kid actors who played younger Lex, and they kept it. I'm like, good on
Yeah,
you. Look
yeah.
at you,
Mhm.
Smallville. Like they were really trying. So I feel bad about getting mad at them about it, because like they did the best they possibly could.
this is
Not
all from
knowing.
love. This is all from a place of love and
Yeah.
admiration that we nitpick.
Yeah. Although they
Yeah.
didn't need to erase.
No,
the
it
memory
means
at the
we
end.
hate it.
You have
Yeah.
to preface that, or people won't understand.
Listen. We love the show. Okay. I don't know if that became my Michael Rosenbaum impression. Like that's Michael Rosenbaum now, apparently. That's yeah, anyway. Yeah. So Lex thoughts at the end of Smallville. There it is, right? I mean, I wish season 10 he could have just been wearing the glasses the whole time, doing the whole, oh my gosh, you got a bathroom in here? Like that kind of like is Tom Welling, he's so good at that. That's not iron. Like he's so good at doing that. But like he just I guess didn't want to do that.
Well, what episode is it where he flashes it, where he's talking to the police officer, and then he's got like the upset stomach?
That's Booster. Yeah.
That's
Mm.
that. How amazing he is just in that scene alone makes it such a shame that he didn't do more of that.
Yeah. If I ever talk to him again on a podcast or whatever, I'm like, so what's the deal? Like, do you hate wearing glasses?
As he's wearing glasses,
Yes,
every
he's wearing
episode
glasses now. It's the irony of it all. But he's like, I don't know. Like, I feel like he was so against it. Like, I just feel like there was no reason for like starting in season 8 that he couldn't have just been wearing glasses the whole time, right?
Was it him, or was it like a CW mandate saying our hot young actors
Or
can't wear
both,
glasses?
I mean, and now I feel like people wear glasses like to be young and hot. Like it's a
To
fashion.
be
Now it's
hot.
in.
Yeah.
Now it's in. It's trendy.
So Isaiah's wearing them. I mean, like, that's why he's cooler than us. We're not. Look at us, Chris,
Hey.
without our glasses. There's a bunch of couple of glassesless losers here. But
I gotta be honest. I wear contact lenses, but I have one
Ooh.
pair of glasses as backup, like for whatever. And I made sure I got Clark Kent style frames just because I knew I wasn't gonna wear them that much, and gotta have something.
yeah,
You gotta respect it. Yeah.
no, that has influenced my glasses choices for a long time. Like I'm like, because the ones I have now kind of look like Tyler Hoechlin's from Superman and Lois, like a little bit. Like they're not exactly, but they're like kind of the thick on the
Mhm.
top and clear on the bottom. And
I've always been more of like a rounded lens, kind of like thinner frame when I wore glasses, but for the first time I got kind of like the thick, more squarish.
well, those are in. That's the thing about the fact. I mean, it's got NBA players just LeBron James wearing Clark Kent glasses. I'm like, what are you cool now? It's I don't understand. Like,
It's because you gotta look sophisticated. He's not just a basketball player. He's an
What?
entrepreneur.
What are these ones? What are these ones that Tom Welland's wearing? They're like clear.
those are some dad glasses. He's got. He's just, that's like
He
there's
lives
that one
on a
episode.
farm. He doesn't care about style.
There's that one episode of Talkville where he's not wearing his baseball hat, but he's wearing the glasses. I'm like, Tom, you look great. Like, why don't you just do that all the time? But he's just, I don't know. It's just so funny. Like it really has, we have a lot of laughs about Talkville, but it is fun just to see, like, it keeps the show alive again, right? In a way, because it's like, hey,
If
what are
nothing-
they gonna say about Spell? I can't wait, or whatever, right?
If nothing else, it's really, really refreshing to see how much Tom actually remembers and loves and enjoyed about it and can share.
For sure.
Like I'm astonished at how much, because he had that reputation, like that he wanted to be done with it and move on, and didn't like it. And then you see him on Talkville, and some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth, it's like, wow, he really cared a lot about it and he really loved it, and he's still to this day is appreciating it.
Yeah.
So if nothing else, I'm enjoying that.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely takes pride in the work, and he's invested in it when they're doing it. He's like, hey, notice that guy back there doing that thing, or like, kudos this guy. Like I don't feel like I'm like, I think Tom sits down and watches the episode and takes some notes and really tries to remember stuff. And I feel like Rosenbaum like watches it on his phone when he's on like the subway or something. I just like,
am I in this episode? Okay, it's fine.
Oh, is that today?
Like I love the banter between them. I love Tom's insight. I guess there's a part of me in what brought me to your show and loving Always on the Smallville is I wish they taught more about the story.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? And there's that there's a place for the stuff that we do, just complete geek out about like, well, in Superman 2, this happens in this episode. It's a reference to like that's what I'm for. I exist in that, and I'm gonna devote 2 hours of my life almost for every one of these episodes. These guys, it's an excuse for them to get together, to quote unquote get together every week, watch something they did, reminisce, and then share some stories. Like they obviously they were there. They have access to memories and stories and experiences that fans like us could never have. So I mean, like that's them just doing this podcast is just like, it is a gift, right? Now I like you. I do wish like they could be better. Like it's like you could tweak a few things here and there. You can have really A+ kind of podcast going on, but that's not what they're looking to do. I don't think like that's not what they're looking to do.
Plus, I would say to be real, they don't even know half like the references and stuff like that, and that's not
I
even.
I don't expect them to, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's whenever I hear like interviews when people talk to Gwyneth Paltrow about what was it like working on Iron Man 3, like and wearing the rescue armor, like how did you feel in that moment? I'm like, bro, this is just a job to her, And so in a lot of ways, I think that's what it is to Tom and Michael. Like their production mindset is more like, how did we get Clark catching the car? Not oh my gosh, the moment of this is Alicia revealing his secret to Chloe. Like, what's the ramifications of that? Like,
but I think that's why people respond to Tom more than Michael, because Michael's like, why are these teenage girls acting like this? This is ridiculous. And like, well, of course they're teenage girls, Michael. Like, I don't like it is dumb. Like, who loves the love triangle stuff? Like, whatever. We all got tired of it. Like, we all understand where he's coming from. But like, it's like, dude, like, we get it. Like, you don't like high school drama stuff. Like, we were in high school, or some of us were in high school, and then or younger people discovered it when they're around that age. So like, no matter how old you are now or then, like, there's something that ties you to that reality. But if you're coming at it as a 50-year-old man for the first time, of course you're gonna be like, "Oh, he's so dumb," and maybe she is dumb. But high school girls are dumb. High school boys are dumb. Clark does a lot of dumb stuff. It's funny. Like I was probably more critical of Clark when I was actually living in that space. I'm like, Clark, what are you doing, man? But now I'm like, oh yeah, of course he would blow up his spaceship. Like he's a dumb kid. Like he's doing stupid. So I'm a little more forgiving of him now than maybe I was, ironically, at the time. But that's the thing. Like I just wish Michael would be like, you know what I would have done? Yeah, I mean, I guess we do the same thing. So who am I to say? But I think that's why people will respond. Like it's Tom finds himself in a spot where he's got to defend like even the worst episodes because he's like, well, it's not all garbage, right? Or something. So I respect his like a positive, optimistic attitude. It's just I don't know. It's fun to see these guys interact, right? And like I like that they're still friends. I mean, like there's something heartwarming about that, right?
Exactly.
It's hilarious
go
too
ahead.
what gets considered like the juicy pieces of information that come out of these episodes, like what gets picked up by Screen Rant or comic book what is it, comic book resource, whatever. Like they run articles about like headline this and like if you were to read the article, that they're just taking one line from the podcast that they listen to. I see these articles like pushed to me from social media all the time, and I just roll my eyes like, okay, you listen to their podcast and now you're publishing an article on your news site to get clicks on you about it, and then now like Michael Rosenbaum will share what Screen Rant says and be like, thanks Screen Rant, and comment on it. I was like, dude,
to me that's the funny thing. His response to them, to me, that's what's. I agree. It's so funny to see that.
Like, dude, they want clicks and attention, and you're just giving it to them.
Oh man. So, yeah, if you're looking for if you listen to one small podcast, make it always on the Smallville. But if you listen to two, listen to Talkville. So, uh, I've fallen behind. I've kind of like gotten some gaps, but I've decided with season 4, like, okay, I'm gonna like watch week to week as is because I'm one of those people like I need to do it immediately or I don't know when it's gonna happen. Like if I buy a book, I gotta read it when I'm like this. You gotta strike with the iron sock. Because if I like sit on it and go home and put it in a pile, like I don't know, man, that could be a few years before you crack open that book or even like a Blu-ray or something. Like I gotta watch that within the next week or it's gonna start collecting dust. So like that, and Talkville became that for me. Like, oh man, there's these big gaps I haven't seen. So I'm slowly like catching back up, filling in some gaps of things ahead. Because I'd watch the big ones, like, oh, Alan Miles are on or whatever. But like some random episodes of season 3, I'm like, I didn't watch or listen to those. So I'm going back and filling the gaps. And by the time season 4 is over, I'll be 100% up to speed. Because a lot of people, like, I'll get messages, hey, did you see Talkville today? I'm like, no, it's 10 a.m. and I got stuff I'm doing today, but
I don't watch them immediately when they drop. Like,
well, some people do, and God bless them. No, and I appreciate it, especially when like I get mentioned. Like people will like, or if I come up for whatever reason, like people will start shooting me stuff, or like if the Clois theory got confirmed, CHLOIS by Miles Millar, right? Like that was a big day for me. Everybody was like, "Dude, you were right." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. It was very obvious. It was right there." Everybody said I was crazy, but I'm sorry. The creator of the show said, "Oh yeah, we thought about making Chloe Lois." Yeah, like, well, of course you did. It was very obvious to me. And I understand the logic too, because they're like, well, if WB is going to be weird about this, we'll just make this character over here Lois, and then like, it was Lois the whole time. Check it out. That would, and ultimately that might have been better, but both.
I was about to say, then
Not
that
now.
does sound better.
Hindsight.
Well,
they knew.
Dude, I mean, it's already a thing. It's like from the hit show Smallville, Allison Mack. Can you imagine if she was actually Lois Lane and not like a made-up character?
Yeah, that'd be like if Lex Luthor in the movies was like a terrible person in real life, right? So anyway, it's Kevin
Well, that was
Spacey,
just a terrible movie,
by the
so
way.
everyone forgets it.
Oh, hot takes. Superman Returns is hit or miss for me, man. So, what do you like Superman Returns, Isaiah?
I like scenes of it.
See,
as a movie, I do not. But yeah,
Kevin Spacey,
the airplane scene.
Terrible person.
Yep, there you go.
Pretty good Lex Luthor, though, right? Maybe there's a correlation there. No.
Lex Luthor's a terrible person. So
there you go.
He was perfect for the role.
Oh man, because that's one of those fan casting where people like they really want a person for a role forever, and then it finally happens. You're like, okay, great, and then it was actually a little bit disappointing because
I can tell you exactly who in modern times that is. John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. That's exactly who that was.
I understand your concern. I'm a father myself, but you need to stop, Wando. John, can you get another take of that?
Can kill you with one word.
The only reason people want him for Mr. Fantastic is because Emily Blunt for the Invisible Woman is what people want. And like, well, they're married. I guess if we get one of them, we get the other one. That's to me.
And I don't even know if I would like Emily Blunt as the Invisible Woman.
I like her as anything. She's fantastic.
Yes,
so
I'm on board with that.
Yeah, but I follow you. Like I think what they should have done in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is Ian Gruffard. That's how you say his name. Excuse me.
Yeah, or Griffithud or whatever.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Why was he not Mr. Fantastic in that? Like, could we call him and he could come in for 2 days and film that? No, because that entire council is Easter eggs, right? It's Captain Carter, Black Bolt, Anson Mount from Smallville, of course.
Anson Mount from the Britney Spears movie Crossroads.
Anson Mount from what was it called? Like, was it called The Mountain? That's what it was called. That spinoff show that he was in on WB for like 8 episodes, so they canceled it after. So I wish I could just go buy all these shows because I would do podcasts about them. I swear. Tarzan, Jack and Bobby,
like CW Seed.
I've looked for these things, man.
Oh man,
Jack and Bobby, I would buy like the Blu-ray complete set and do a whole podcast about it. I was so fascinated by that concept. I got during the pandemic. We found a lot of them online randomly. Me and my wife started watching them, and she was diving into it, and we watched a few. But like, you start to run out, and I got about 8 episodes in. I'm like, well, there's some missing now, and I'll just stop one day. One day I'll watch all of Jack and Bobby. But anyway, I'll watch all those shows. The Mountain, whatever kind of because they're also come and go. You know, we take small we take for granted 10 years. How many shows came and went over like half a season? Or Birds of Prey, God bless Birds of Prey. Shout out to Matt Truex, right? I mean, like we had a whole Patreon podcast about it. You know, that'd have been cool to see a few years of that, but like no, like you know, Smallville is the exception, y'all. I know, and Supernatural. Those shows are just they're something else.
There was a show, and I don't know if it was a CW or WB that Sarah Carter was on, and she was on it with Corey Seaver, who ended up coming in later. I just remember the show with them. It was like a karate or something like that.
Okay.
And I just remember, okay, so that's Alicia. And then the guy that was in it with her came in, I think it was season 7. He was the diner guy that was in love with
Kara. Okay.
Yeah, and they were like in a show together, and I want to say it was like 1 season or like 5-6 episodes. It's one of those things where it's like name a show that you've seen that you don't think anybody else has ever seen before.
That's the one.
Yeah, and I'm trying to look it up right now because I can't remember what it was.
If they made one of these like Pluto
Black
TV
Sash.
show,
Black Sash it was called.
Is it like a pirate show?
No, it's like a karate.
You're thinking of Black Sails.
Excuse me. Somebody mentioned I think I did or somebody I didn't know what that was, but somebody mentioned that to me at some point in our podcast. So thank you for Black Sash. I swear,
Black Sash.
If there was like a Pluto TV channel of all these WB, the WB TV shows that didn't last, like I would watch that.
Yeah, it was on the CW.
Long.
That's insane. It was on the CW.
Yeah, 8 episodes.
Aired in 2003.
Wow, 2000, the height of Smallville, 2003.
I didn't catch on.
That Tarzan show did come out, right? Because there was a trailer for it on the season 1 DVD of Smallville. Chris, you might remember this. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah, briefly.
But I remember it like existing, but like that's all I. And was it going to be called like Greystone, which is like Tarzan's real name? Like it's so classic.
Who was in it?
No one that I know of.
Oh, I'm trying to look it up.
But yeah. But
how did we get here?
The Multiverse of Madness, right? Patrick Stewart's did it, Professor X, right?
Yep.
So I'm like, dude, just put in the Mr. Fantastic, we all know, and then you can kill him off. So I'm like, oh, okay. And then you could do John.
Yeah, but they're planning to bring him back for Secret Wars. That's why.
Yeah. I mean, sure. At this point, why not? Bring everybody back. I want to see. I definitely want to see Wesley Snipes as Blade.
Well, they're recasting the Fantastic Four, right? Like they're getting a new.
Eventually.
Don't they already have people confirmed?
Well, no, yeah, it's or rumored, confirmed, but not officially.
No.
Yeah, and I will go on record as saying it's hot garbage. I do not like that cast. I'm sorry, but Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic is stunt casting at its finest.
I'm kind of sick of him.
Let's get the guy who's super popular. Look, he plays the father all the time, and we're gonna make him older and have kids. No, stop. Not a fan.
I really like those first 2 Fantastic Four movies for what they are. Like they're not the Dark Knight or whatever, but they're fun. I don't know. Like,
well, yeah, I was about to say they're not trying to be.
Which one? Like the Ian Gaffard and Jessica Alba one?
Those
or are you
2.
talking about like Miles Teller and
no, not Fan Forstic. Although people, Fan Forstic is not good. Do not get me wrong, but people just hate on that like it's the worst film ever made. I'm like, I don't know, like it's whatever. Like,
could you name like 5 worse movies than Fan Forstic?
Yeah.
At least superhero movies.
Catwoman, Wonder Woman 1984, Suicide Squad, The Flash,
Superman Returns.
How dare you? First of all,
you think Wonder Woman 1984 is worse than Fan Forstic?
1000%. 1000%.
I don't know if I can agree with that.
Was Fan Forstic a sequel to like one of the best superhero movies ever made, and then just completely ruin it? No. So it's better than Wonder Woman 1984.
Okay.
Here's a question. I asked Lance this. You guys will hear in our latest Superman special on Superman Legacy. We talk some of the news, and we can talk about some of that too if you guys want. But if you ever have any opinions, we don't have to. But I know you have an opinion about this. The DCEU, like, what is the best mini franchise? Like, you know, like series of movies in there, because there's a lot of there's your Shazam movies, there's your Wonder Woman, there's your like Harley Quinn, Suicide Squad movies. To me, the Snyder trilogy is the best of the three. And I have issues with BVS, but even so, like I think like
What do you count as a Snyder trip? Man of Steel, BVS, Zack
Justice
Snyder's
League.
Justice
Yeah.
League?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the best mini franchise to me. And I have, it's not perfection to me either. Just gotta say that people
Yeah.
get mad at me, right? But it's like, but of all of them, like that's the best cohesive like three in there. And then to me, the second best mini franchise is the Aquaman movies. And then after that, it's not even worth discussing because there's such garbage in all the other ones. Maybe
You
Shazam is
know,
third after that,
I was about
honestly.
to say I'd maybe put Shazam as second.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Because
After
did I like Shazam 2 more than Aquaman 2? That's a question.
I did not. But I like Aquaman. Well, I like Aquaman and Shazam both quite a bit.
Yeah, I would
Um,
argue I like Aquaman the movie more than Shazam. But as far as
yes, I
2
agree.
though, I don't know. Aquaman 2 is such a oh man. It exemplifies a lot of the worst aspects of what I think superhero movies are. And I mean that Amber Heard not being in the movie, but being in the movie and it being so glaringly obvious
There was
is
there was so
just
many cutaways of like her by herself, like folding laundry, and he's in the corner with
yeah.
the baby. I'm like, man, these people like hate each other. He will not be seen on set.
No, I was like during that scene when they're like to single fathers, I'm like, wait, aren't you in universe a happily married man? Like, what are you talking about?
I thought, yeah, no, that it was weird because I was like, oh, she's gonna be shot by this black man laser and be out of the movie. Okay.
And then be
But
dead. Yeah,
but she keeps coming back. Like she keeps
exactly.
popping up. I'm like, it's make up your mind. That movie reeks of reshoots. Like you can see the seams, especially
Yeah,
where his dad doesn't die. I'm like, there's clearly an earlier cut of this movie where your dad died.
which would have been the more impactful one, to
Right,
be
because
honest.
the whole time, like, oh no, the baby, oh no, the dad, and then like, but instead it's like everybody's fine. Django Fett gets live happily ever after, I guess. But Chris, what do you think, man?
Um,
Back to the original question first, then we can riff some more about this if you want. But
so you're gonna have to take my nerd card away from me because I still have not seen either Aquaman movie.
wow, you
I
okay?
know. It's one of those things
Well,
that's like it's been built up so much for me. Like, oh my God, Aquaman's amazing. How have you not seen it? And I just have not been drawn to it. I don't know what it is. And
Do you not like Jason Momoa or was
no, I got nothing against Jason Momoa. I actually enjoy it. I'm sure I would like it if I watched. I just haven't gotten around to doing it yet, and now it's become a thing. But
now
I don't
you
know.
have to stand on principle to not watch
have
it.
you seen Shazam 2?
No, I've
Okay.
seen Shazam 1. I have not seen Shazam 2.
Have you seen Black Adam?
No.
Haven't seen it has your boy Henry Cavill at
So
the
what
end.
have you
Spoilers.
watched? What
I
have you
saw
seen,
that scene. I
Chris?
saw that scene. I saw the post-credit scene with Henry Cavill.
Have you seen the Snyder cut? No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. Oh yeah. Dude, come on.
Have you seen the Suicide Squad?
The first one.
Oof.
Oof. Yikes.
Yeah, that's the worst one.
Yeah, I just kind of I got so jaded by the drama of it all and knowing that they were rebooting it.
Have you
And
seen the greatest super movie of all time, The Flash?
yes, I have seen the Flash, but because I had to. Like there's so much hype and talk about that, but no, for me, like I really enjoyed Man of Steel. I thought it was a new and interesting take. I didn't hate it for the reasons that people hated it. Uh, is it the best ever? No, but I really enjoyed it. I was excited to see where they were going to go with it. My criticisms of BVS are that I think they rushed and crammed too much together, but I still think there are good parts that I enjoyed about it. It never settled for me. Like I think they tried to build on too much of what we understand about Superman without actually paying it off.
Yeah.
So it kind of rang kind of hollow for me, but I enjoyed the Zack Snyder Justice League a lot, but knowing
Yeah.
where he planned on taking it
Yeah,
sours it for me.
maybe it's the best. There's not any more of those. I don't.
So, yeah, but I would
Yeah,
agree
no,
with you
okay,
in that regard that I liked
okay.
that one.
Well, I go see Blue Beetle if you haven't. I recommend that one.
Oh, you haven't seen Blue Beetle yet, Chris? Oh
No,
man.
Do you have
I
Max? You
I do,
watch it for
I could
free.
watch all of
You can
these
watch
things.
that with your kid, your family.
You
You know,
can
that's
do it
like a nice.
tonight.
Yeah. Seriously,
All
okay.
right.
Of last year, that's the
By the
one.
next time we record, I will have watched the Aquaman series. and I'll try to watch Shazam 2.
Well, I want to make you have to watch all this stuff. So
No, I should.
okay, well,
You're not the only one. I got a
okay.
lot in my ear saying you need to watch this.
Okay. Well, if there was one like okay, so Isaiah, you saw all 4 DC movies that came out last year.
I did.
How would you rank the 4 of them?
It's what Shazam 2, Black Adam.
Black Adam was 2022.
Oh, that's 20.
So Shazam
Oh,
2.
wow, last year was 23.
I know
That's
we're living in the
crazy.
future, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Where
Shazam 2.
Grant
Flash.
Gustin's Flash showed
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. I made it. 2024. I made it.
Love
I'm
it.
glad that was a thing a few days ago. That was so good. I'm glad everybody remembered to do it. Good on Grant Gustin. But there's Blue Beetle, The Flash,
Aquaman 2.
Shazam 2.
Shazam 2, and Aquaman 2.
Oh, and Aquaman 2.
Yeah.
Wow. It's kind of like the battle of mid.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, some of them are better than others. I mean, one of them is better
Yeah.
than the rest, in my opinion. But
I mean, I guess
The Flash.
Sure. We'll do Blue Beetle. You know, even just for personal preference, I think I'm gonna do Shazam 2, Aquaman 2, The Flash. Yeah. Because I understand the criticisms of Shazam 2, but I would argue that in a lot of ways, Shazam 2 does certain things better than the first movie, because at least it's like there's a real level of tonal consistency in that movie that I don't think the first Shazam had.
even though the
'Cause I
tone
think,
is
like,
worse.
I mean, is it though?
Skittles, taste the rainbow.
I'm not gonna lie. That made me laugh.
All right.
That did make me laugh. Call me immature entertainee, but
I
yeah,
should
that was
rewatch
clever.
Shazam 2. I haven't rewatched that one. You're right. Maybe because I enjoy Black Adam for what it is. I mean, it should have been a lot better. But it's, I
Fair
enjoy
enough.
Dwayne Johnson as doing his thing, and I respect what he was trying to do. I would have been way more hyped for Black Adam 2, where he's fighting Superman, than whatever we have coming now. But like, so there could be an argument made.
Sorry. We can let's just pause 1 second.
Pause. Yeah.
Do you mind just restating what you said? Because maybe I misheard.
I know I would have been much more hyped for Black Adam 2, where he fights Superman, than whatever we have coming now on the DCU.
As in Superman Legacy.
Yeah,
And okay, all right. So if we could let's just stop right there.
Let's
talk
unpack
about
this.
it.
Yeah.
What
So you're
on
right.
earth are you talking about?
I would rather see Henry Cavill Superman fight Dwayne The Rock Johnson's Black Adam than Guy Gardner Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Metamorpho, The Authority, all these
Supergirl.
random characters in this Superman movie that James Gunn's making. That's correct.
Why?
Well, I thought I just was very clear with my explanation.
No. I mean, my thing, I don't, okay. Just because all those characters are in the movie doesn't mean that they're main characters. Because it's like, I would make the argument that if you just heard the cast list off rip for any Guardians of the Galaxy movie, you would hear like Michael Rosenbaum as
Sylvester Stallone.
As who?
I'm not even talking about I'm talking about that's a group movie, like the Guardians of the Galaxy. That makes such kind of weird stuff going on. But I'm like, this is a Superman movie. Like, we haven't had a solo Superman movie in 11 years. It's gonna be 12 years.
You're going to have a solo Superman movie.
This doesn't seem like a solo Superman movie to me.
I mean, they're not. That's what I'm saying. They're not gonna be like main characters. It's just
you say that,
at least in my mind. And granted,
here's the deal.
We're all arguing.
This is gonna be fun when it comes out. We're gonna have a great discussion. It's gonna be lit. But you're gonna sit here and tell me that. But then fast forward a year and a half, you're gonna be like, it's great that Guy Gardner was the main character in the movie, and here's why.
I might. But I just don't think so. I think James is probably just making it.
Yeah, I forget you and James on a first name basis. I forget.
Come on, man. What can I? I just
let James cook. Okay, let him cook.
Well, first of all, yes, but he's trying to make it a lived-in universe, as opposed to, it would be super, super weird if it's like only Superman, no other hero exists. No other, nothing exists. I'm like, not even Zack Snyder did that in Man of Steel.
He did though. Nobody else was in Man of Steel.
Well, no, not in terms of in it, but just like we knew of their
Wayne's
existence.
satellite and all that. But I
Yeah,
think there's
yeah,
a
yeah.
difference between seeing a LexCorp truck and a Wayne satellite than like
Yeah.
Hawkwoman is one of your main characters with
But
Metamorpho.
as I would repeat myself, like I don't think he's going to make it like Hawkwoman is in 45 minutes of the movie.
We'll see.
I highly believe it's gonna be like 10 minutes or less.
It's just the name of the movie is Superman Legacy. And
That too, yeah.
so it's not gonna be I don't think it's gonna be more just Superman. I think it's gonna be what Superman means to everyone else and how he impacts everyone else. And now it's gonna be more about his reach and who else he interacts with and everything. Then I don't know. Superman's my guy. Superman's been my favorite character since I was a kid. Everything is about Superman. I I'm clamoring for a Superman centric movie because we got Man of Steel and then it immediately shifted to Batman.
Okay, so
And
you're
before that,
going
we
to
got
get a
Superman
Superman
Returns,
centric
which was
movie.
like a reboot, a continued reboot of the same thing that we got in the 70s.
So here,
I just want.
I would ask both of y'all this then. And even Zach, you recently had to rewatch this for Captain America Civil War.
Oh, that's my favorite
Yes,
Marvel right now. Yeah.
yes or no? Do you think that is a Captain America movie?
No, of course not. That's like Avengers 4.5 or whatever. But
Wow, it
that's
was
also
2.5, but
like the 12th movie of the MCU. So you can afford to
right.
do
But
that.
I mean, I guess my point, like the
Did they
principle
call
of it.
did they call Captain America Civil
Hmm.
War Black Panther Legacy? That's what this is. This is called
Oh,
uh,
stop it! That's
look, it's T'Challa and he becomes
Oh,
Black
if
Panther.
anything, that supports my argument more because it's possible to
I
have
think it
all these
supports my
characters.
argument more. Black Panther Legacy. It's great. His dad dies and becomes a Black Panther.
Well, like if you had Captain America, the first Avenger first, Superman, whatever first, and then you
Mhm.
have the Winter Soldier, which you brought other characters in. You had, you touched on like Fury was there, Black Widow was there, but they were supporting characters for a Captain America story. And then you moved into like a Civil War piece where you have all these other ones. And yeah, I guess Captain America is your main character, but you're just as much focusing on on Iron Man's story of it all. That's a good build up. If you're gonna start right out with, okay, here we go. Here's our first entry into this world. Superman Legacy. Okay, bring everybody in. Guy Gardner, Metamorpho, Hawkgirl, Supergirl, and
Well,
whoever
I would
else
argue
is.
he has to. He has to. He doesn't have the luxury or the blessing in disguise that Kevin Feige had when starting out the MCU.
Why not
Kevin
though?
Feige was hampered by the fact that he didn't have access to all his roster. The fact that he didn't have Spider-Man, he didn't have the Fantastic Four, he didn't have the X-Men, forced him to use not only obscure characters, but because they were obscure, he had to focus on them one at a time. James is starting with the full roster off rip. He can't you if you were to do the MCU route of doing a single Superman movie, a single Batman movie, a single Green Lantern movie, we're not getting like a Justice League or a meaningful crossover until like five,
But,
6 years deep.
but that's
But
fine.
that's the work you got to do.
What's wrong with that? Like it's okay. Like
Look
that.
I
look
mean,
at
there's
the
nothing
DC,
wrong
look
with
at the
that, but I'm
DCEU.
just
They rushed to Justice League and then it failed.
well, yeah, but those are
They
story
didn't lay the
problems.
groundwork.
Those are story problems, and it's possible to lay the groundwork and it still be meaningful.
No, well,
Like
we don't
that's what
know. You're right. We don't know if these are main characters or not. There might be in two scenes where he's talking to
that's
the
what I
Justice League.
and that's my
So
belief. I don't
that's
even think that they're Justice League yet. I think they're
hmm.
just characters that exist in the world.
So we really don't know. You're right. It's just the fact that all those characters were announced like before like Lex Luthor even or all that kind of stuff like bothers me. Plus there are all these quirky James Gunn kind of characters. Like that's another thing, right? But I've been
Yeah,
wrong before. You know, like
maybe
I
you're right
thought the
though.
Batman was going to be terrible, and it's like the best Batman movie. So I might be wrong about this. I hope I really want. It's true. Like I'm very. I get very sarcastic when I'm talking about James Gunn taking over all this stuff. Just kind of how the way it went down, right? I'm like, oh, because he did such a great job with the Suicide Squad. Now he gets to be in charge of everything and get to keep his characters, and everybody else gets erased. Like that feels wrong to me. But here we are. right? So I would love for there to be a solo Superman movie that comes out and everybody loves it. And it's not completely polarizing. You have to pick sides on the internet like we've having to do for the last 10 years, right? I hope this is it. I hope this unites the fandom. I really does. But I'm just keeping it on. Like my deal is, I feel like I have to be more. And I'm not saying to you, Isaiah. I'm not saying you like this, but
Yeah.
like when I see any amount of news that comes out about Superman Legacy, people are like, dude, we're back. It's the best Superman movie ever. And I'm like, excuse me, can we temper our expectations? I feel like I have to be that excuse me guy because everybody else is like, oh, did I miss something? This is the best movie ever. Apparently, it's the reviews have already been written, Isaiah. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. So like that's why I kind of that's where I'm existing right now. I am very on the fence. I'm very neutral about it. I'm like when we I think we see the first poster, the first set photo of Superman, the first trailer. I think we'll all start to really get a good vibe of what the movie's going to be, and then I can maybe form a real opinion. But we should all. It's hard to say. We got to wait and see till it comes out. But I'm like, well, I'm going to be cranking out podcasts about this for this.
Listen, fair enough. It comes out next year, so let me just make sure that we got it on the record that on February 6th, 2024, Isaiah said it would hit. And that's
There you
we
go.
have that on record.
I cannot wait to play this audio back.
I can
Please
totally
do.
see what you mean though, Isaiah. Like we're in a piece right now where they're trying to gain back good name and good fortune for the DCEU, and there's nothing to do it with yet because everything's in pre-production. Everything was backlayed. So it's like, okay, let's announce, oh my God, we got Nathan Fillion.
Yeah.
Here's our Supergirl. Here's our Lex Luthor. And how that's going to show up on screen. Like these guys could be maybe they're in the last 10 minutes of the movie. Like maybe they are in like a scene or two towards the end that leads into
It's
other
literally,
products.
it's
We don't
literally gonna
know.
be like a Guardians of the Galaxy. Like if, for example, if Howard the Duck's casting were like, so and so, the voice of Howard the Duck in
Seth
Guardians of
Green.
the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Seth Green. And everybody's like, what? How is he in the Guardians of the Galaxy? Like, we need to focus on the original cast. And then it's just a post-credit scene.
Mhm.
That's what I'm saying. Like, James has shown us in his track record that's why I'm choosing to put faith in they're going to be minor characters, because in his 3 movies, and even no 4 movies that he's done superhero wise, at least mainstream superhero wise, he's shown that he has not compromised the quality of his characters just for the cool comic book moment, even though I have problems with his movies, but I will give him that.
So, okay, looking ahead to Superman Legacy, what are like the staple Superman things that we really want to see? Like, what's something we want to see James do with Superman that would, for us, be like, okay, this is good? Like, what do we need to see?
I need to see red underwear.
For real though, you're a Trunks guy?
I was about to say, are you really a Trunks guy?
Here's the thing, right? I
Like,
think
it's deal breaker.
I think if you take the trunks away, that's like, well, this is kind of lame, y'all. We got to get rid of these. Like, that's you're already showing you're kind of ashamed of some things. So, like, own the trunks, make the trunks work, right? Like Christopher Reeve, Brandon Routh, right? Like Tyler Hoechlin in the Fleischer suit. In the Fleischer suit.
But that was one scene,
and that's his favorite.
His
that's
regular
the best
suit.
look. His regular suit is way too sculpted. It looks like the Cavill suits, in my opinion. Like the best Cavill suit was Man of Steel, where it was like kind of darker, and like as they progressed, like the BVS and especially the Justice League suit, where it's like it looks like a Batman and Robin. Like, what are you doing with like sculpted? Anyway, I say keep the trunks and make it work, and be like, this is who I am. Deal with it instead of like, oh man, we got to change this. This is that's my opinion. I'm kind of joking that it's not a deal breaker for me, but I think that can tell you a lot about the mindset of going into it with the character. We're like, we got to get rid of these. These are dumb. So I say that would show me perhaps where they're coming from. But all jokes aside about the red underwear, I really would like to see like a good Daily Planet story, like Clark Kent having something
That's exactly
to do as a
what I was
character.
gonna say.
So that's my more serious answer.
Yeah. And I think ironically, and again, I mean, at this point it's just speculation, but I would not be surprised if James uses the vehicle of Clark Kent first entering the Daily Planet as Superman first entering the superhero scene. So like as
How
Clark,
it should be, as
meets
it should
Lois
be.
Lane, exactly, and meets Jimmy Olsen and Perry, and does his first stories and whatever, and Superman first goes on the scene, then it's like a scene where he meets a random bird woman or meets a random green space cop or meets a guy who changes elements and that kind of thing. Even if it's not in a superhero setting, but like a guy's like walking on down the street and he gets randomly mugged, and and the muggy gets stopped because of Metamorpho.
Mhm.
Like, again, that was a terrible pitch. Don't quote me on that. But the point is, yeah, I think it's probably going to be used as a vehicle to introduce Clark and by or ostensibly the audience into this larger DC world.
I would love to see, and it's kind of been when you take the character of Superman and Clark Kent, the TV shows have been Clark Kent is the character and Superman is the disguise, the alter ego, the there. And uh in Lois and Clark, Dean Cain says as much. Like Clark Kent is who I am, Superman is what I can do or what I do. We've seen that in the TV shows, and whereas the movies have been more Superman is the character and Clark Kent is the disguise. I want to see it kind of reverse in a movie. I want to see where Clark Kent, the humanity of him, like who he is as a person, shines through, and Superman is the vehicle for what he can do and who is it. I want it to start out that way. I want to build up Clark Kent in that way, and it kind of ties into what you guys are saying. But the thing I'm most interested in seeing is how they adapt Superman as a reporter, Clark Kent as a reporter, and living a daily life and turning into Superman, how they adapt that for the modern world. Uh, I don't want to see them pretend like we're still in the 40s where you newspaper and all that kind of stuff. I want to see them actually revolutionize it, make it good. Like, what does he do with he's got to have like a Twitter and or like post online articles, and he's got to have a phone and stuff like that. What's he do with that when he has to like take his clothes off and super speed off or make a
Yeah.
save? I want to see those kind of things. I want to see that adapted for the century that we're in and the world, the modern world. I'd love to see them do like a really good take on that.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, that's so similar to how I viewed what Marvel was doing with Spider-Man. Just in terms of like Spider-Man as a character from when he was first invented in the 60s, obviously has to look different,
Hmm.
to today. And so, yeah, that would be super interesting. I mean, even if just doing like an online, like an online newspaper as a Daily Planet or something like that, that would be cool. Superman or Clark Kent having a Twitter is a hilarious thought. Thank you for putting that out there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. And I guess you could make it a compelling story of like Clark fighting for fighting for the ideals of real journalism,
Hmm.
in terms of like this would be super reductive, but like, oh, modern media nowadays is all about the clicks. It's all about, what gets people's attention. It's not about the truth. And Clark is, about more making sure we have authenticated facts and all that. So I don't know. I think you could play it both ways. You could play it both ways.
Yeah, however they do, I want it to be a more reined in story. Like I don't necessarily need to see all the Justice League together fighting Zod or Doomsday or Darkseid or whatever coming together in a world ending scenario. I kind of want to see them more day to day, like the solving a crime or figuring out a story and then, saving somebody falling off a construction thing or an avalanche or whatever. Like the kind of Superman stuff that's like the heart and soul of it. Eventually, you build up to the big bad, but I want to see more of the day to day. I want to see more life of Clark, Superman, Lois, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as much as I love the whole Christopher Reeve, oh, she lost, right? Like, he doesn't have to be that way, Clark Kent, but I do need to see some difference in the personality and the hair and the dress. Like, like Henry Cavill, like, dude, just put on some glasses and was like himself. Same with Tyler Hoechlin. As much
Superman
as
in a
everybody
suit.
loves him, right? It's just like, dude, there's no
Well,
difference.
I mean,
I don't know,
there was some effort in Superman and Lois.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
there
with
is
how it
definitely more
happened.
effort. There's more time to play with that too, right? But
I think it's more so though. Who would expect that this guy that came from Kansas and is a farmer and now he's working in a news reporter? Who would expect that this guy here would be this? And
yeah.
like maybe they
Yeah.
look alike, but and you think in your head like, oh, he kind of looks like him, but you would never really say like, oh, this guy, it's the same.
Well, I
I
know
mean,
you
Yeah.
hate Superman Returns, Chris, apparently, but like I think Brandon Routh did it pretty good. Like he kind of maybe he's a little quirky and he kind of folds in the background, but he's not like fumbling over himself as much as Christopher Reeve, maybe. And also like he doesn't know them, he doesn't know
yeah,
Lois from the years ago. Like the fact that in Superman and Lois, like Lana Lang has a whole conversation with Superman all the time and like, hey, you look just like my best friend Clark Kent, right? And this never occurs to them, right? So um you're
well,
right
like
though. Like, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Like, it should never. People should not assume Superman has secret identity. They should just think he's out there because that's what Lex Luthor thinks. Like all the time, he's like,
mhm.
why would he pretend to be somebody else? That's dumb. Like he has no secret
Yeah.
identity, and that's how you get him. Like when they for whatever reason, if they figure out or assume that he has a secret identity, then you're in trouble. Like the average person should not think Superman goes and plays dress up somewhere, right? Like they
Right,
think he
right.
should be out being Superman all the time.
Mhm.
And that shouldn't even it occurs to us because we read the comic books. I'm like, oh yeah, he's got to have a secret identity. But in the in universe, they should think
Mhm.
he's just always superheroing all
Yeah,
the
for
time. And then
sure.
the danger is when somebody figures that out, Alex or whoever it is. I would love to see that. I would love to see like a movie where Lex Luthor finds out his identity, and that's the post credit scene, right? If Lex Luthor's got some monitor camera and he sees him turn back into Clark
And
Kent, all right.
and it
No, it's
says
serious.
Superman, Clark Kent next
Well,
to each
I
other.
mean,
Like,
that's a part of it. That's a part of it too. How does he do this now when there's cameras everywhere?
Yeah, no phone booths anymore to change
yeah.
in. What do you do?
Yeah.
So
Have you guys ever have you ever like seen a celebrity out in like real life, like doing like
Yeah.
in a grocery store type
yeah,
thing or
yeah,
anything
yeah,
like
yeah.
that? Were you 100% sure that's who it was?
I saw Jeff Bagwell at a liquor store. I was like, "Hey, Jeff Bagwell." He's like, "Hey, how you doing?" No, I didn't bother him, but that's all I said. I just walked by. I'm like, "Hey, Jeff Bagwell." But in my defense, and this is funny, he's wearing an Astros hat. I'm like, "Sir, if you're
Yeah,
trying
so
to be incognito,
if like Clark Kent's out wearing a Superman
Superman."
t-shirt,
Superman shirt. But hey, you want to know what we're laughing about that? But Henry Cavill did that apparently. He like
Times
walked
Square.
in
I
Times
mean,
Square with the Superman shirt on and wasn't recognized. So yeah, I think it does happen. It
Because
does
yeah,
happen.
exactly. If you're not looking like if you don't expect to see somebody, and you kind of like you double take, and then they're gone by the time you even think it was them, and then your 2 point Chris, you won't even be like, oh, that's dumb. Like how many scenes are there of like Lois being like, nah, like that's in a lot of versions, and that tracks. Like I think like secret identity wise, I don't think Lois should know at the very beginning, but I
no.
think she should find out or be told pretty quickly, or some combination of the two. Like I think like some like she's figuring it out, and he's gonna tell her, and that converges at some point.
It's
That's what I
definitely
want to
much
see.
easier to do it in a movie than a TV show where you're trying to extend yourself
Week after week
longer
after week.
seasons,
Yeah.
yeah, and keep the suspense and drama.
Well, even in the original Superman movies and Superman 2, like it's already gone. Like Lois and Lois' identity and stuff. So I love secret
Until
identities.
he kisses her.
Yeah, until he forgets it all. Oh crap, we gotta undo it. I love secret identities. I want to have a little fun with that in this movie. I don't
Mhm.
know how long or how much space you have for it, but I want to have a little fun with it. Uh
I think that's a big strength that DC has over Marvel. I mean, Marvel has the secret identities, but they've kind of like thrown them away in the movies per se. Like
Yeah.
DC should totally stick to them with as many of their characters as possible, like because that's what they are.
I
In
have
my
I
another big
mean,
question. I have another big question for. Oh, I'm sorry, IJ. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, it was kind of dumb, but I'll cut you off for some silly thing. But this is very important to me though. Should there be a yellow S on the back of the cape or not? This goes with my trunks question. Like
Ooh.
completely aesthetic, ultimately meaningless things, but
I'm gonna be different. Make it black.
okay.
Yeah.
It's the background on my
Oh well, then that's a
like.
yes from you.
I,
Is that a Lois and Clark picture there, Chris? Or because I know that cape had it.
to be honest, this is actually a picture of my actual physical Halloween costume cape
Nice.
that
That's heat.
So then that's definitely a yes for you. I
I did like it, but
I
I don't
think
know. I don't know that I need it.
Isaiah in the Smallville comic books, it's a black S on the back, I think.
Yeah, and New 52 Superman.
Yes.
That's why.
That's the problem with the Smallville comic books. They were like half the time they just be like, "Oh, just draw the generic Superman we have going on right now. Let's don't bother making it look like them." Like Chris Reeve has the yellow S on the back. Dean King has the yellow S on the back. George Reeves had an S, but it was like a red and yellow S. So just the S on the front is the S on the back. I'm like, okay, that actually makes sense, I guess. I don't know. Um, to me, I think like a formative comic book graphic novel to me was Dark Knight Returns. Frank Miller draws Superman with the S on the cape.
Okay.
Death of Superman, of course. You see the yellow S on the back of the cape flapping in the wind. So it's iconic, but I don't think it's essential. So I mean, it's not like a deal breaker to me. I don't. We've gotten away from it though. Like Henry Cavill doesn't have it. Tyler Hoechlin doesn't have it. You know, a bunch of animated shows don't have it because it's kind of hard to draw. You know, it's easier just to
Yeah.
draw a red straight up red cape. So.
And in a lot of ways, it's like the cape in and of itself is iconic
Mhm.
without the symbol.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not a deal breaker, but
Smallville has yellow on the back.
not all the time.
Well, I
Oh
mean,
no, okay. You're
Seasonal Guardian.
looking at the you're looking at the series finale. Like I know what you're saying. Like pull out a later. Chris is going through his Smallville
I was
season
about to
11
say,
graphic novels now.
we gotta check the records.
This is some
I love
great
it.
great content here. Random one. I swear it's like just flip through it, Chris. Find the most generic looking Superman in one of these you can, and I'm just gonna have that. Isaiah, thanks for calling it out. That's how I looked in the New 52, which was coming out concurrently, and I feel like they just got lazy sometimes and just drew like whatever they had there. I don't mind. I wouldn't mind a black one on the back. We'll see.
And yeah, it would be kind of as you were saying, yeah, it would be telling if they did like a Trunks and Black S combination would be kind of crazy. So I feel like if you go Black S, it'll probably be no Trunks. But if you do the Trunks, then it would be the Gold S.
I'm real about like translating things you see from the comics directly to live action, and there's no reason to not do that. Like in the old days, Christopher Reeve and George Reeves look just like Superman from the comics. You know, I mean, like there they are. Like there's no reason to reinvent it. Like I don't need him to be in some crazy looking updated suit. You know, Batman, I get how his suits look different. He's a guy that wears armor, but Superman, this is not for that. It's just him wearing what he came in from another planet. So anyway,
I'm looking at Alien, which is volume 6, and it has the S on the back with no color, like a black outline.
There it is. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, that's that they were getting lazy.
But like I have to like really search through panels to see like, okay, where's the back of Superman?
Gotcha. So there, yeah, there you go. It's fun that we even like for all of our various points of view on it. It's fun that we're even having these discussions because like, hey, we're getting more Superman content, right? I mean that when you run out of when content is no longer created, then you're like, oh, is your character gone? You know, like Dick Tracy and the Shadow and all those guys, right? I mean, of course, there's always some comic book version of them or whatever, but like Superman, like always in movies and TV shows and video games and comic books and other things. And we should, you know, we all love the character and we should be thankful that he is like got so many interpretations. That's the thing, right? Like if I love or don't love this next version, it's fine because I have like 4.5 Christopher Reeve movies. 10 seasons of Smallville. Exactly. Right. I mean, it's so many graphic novels and books. Like, and you know what? In another 20 years, there'll be another version of it. Right. Like, I just want them to like start something and stick with it and keep it going. That the last 10 years has been frustrating for everybody, love or hate, whatever they were doing, because it was so start, stop. What are we doing? Especially with Superman, of all the characters, right? For them to Henry Cavill, he was in 2013, he got a movie. In 2016, he got a movie. He showed up at the end of a 2017 movie that was a big, you know, fumble. Showed up again in another version of that same movie a few years later, and then was in a post-credit scene. And that's all we had for Superman in 10 years. I mean, that's crazy. So whatever they end up doing, let's just see where it goes. Because movie series, you know, they have ebbs and flows. You got to stick with them. You know,
For
like
sure.
they
oh god. Oh no, I was just gonna say, and I don't even like everything that Gunn is doing, like, or at least that he's planned so far. Like the Creature Commandos, I'm ambivalent to negative about it. The Amanda Waller show, I'm ambivalent to negative about it. Personally, I'm really upset that they're jumping straight to Damian as Robin instead of like having Dick or even like Jason. as Robin, I feel like you're skipping over a lot of, story or at least really emotional moments with
Yeah.
those Robin, and seeing them on screen. So I don't, I'm not even coming from a place of agreeing with everything that he's doing, but at least with Superman Legacy, I'm trying to have the benefit, give him the benefit of the doubt about it.
Yeah, along those lines too, like some of the other movies that have been announced as being like the next ones in line, to me is kind of head scratching.
Yeah. Like even now that you mention it, like even the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, I'm like, that comic is such a weird one to make as your first Supergirl movie, even if it's only like roughly based on it. Cause I'm like, when you actually read it, ironically, it's not even really a Supergirl story. It's more about another character's interpretation of Supergirl. So I just find it very odd that that's the comic that he wants to use as the first like story for Supergirl.
I have bought that because it was announced as a movie. I bought the graphic novel. I haven't read it yet. But now with the recent
Okay, yeah, I
casting of
won't spoil
Supergirl,
it.
I'm going to read it.
Because you
And
didn't
I'll
read it right away.
and I got to read it right away.
He did read it right away, yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I should have read it the day I bought it, but it's been sitting on my shelf for almost a
Like
year now, right?
I have this that I bought. I don't think I've ever read this one.
Smallville Lantern. No, I read all of season 11, and hey, I got news for you. Season 11 is not canon. And I
I
know
agree with you there.
people are
Yeah.
gonna lose their minds. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, it's a comic book, y'all, and Smallville's a TV show. And growing up a Star Trek and Star Wars fan, I enjoyed many a comic and a book, but I always knew didn't like truly count. Like it's not like if it's not on screen, it's not canon, right? So
And as a Star Wars fan, I know that you could think something's canon for years, and then they could just come in and say, like, nope, not canon anymore.
never happened. Mara Jade does not exist.
Yet.
Yeah, just like Thrawn and all them. Oh, can we bring all those guys back that we got rid of? Because we need people to like us again. The we can wrap it up here, but like the Smallville, like if the Smallville animated series ever happens, right? They're not gonna care about Smallville season 11. And
You
by the
mean they're
way,
not gonna reference the anti-monitor destroying all the Earths?
listen, I've
They're
seen a
not
lot of
gonna
strange things. Oh, like where'd those people go? That's Christ unforgiveness for you. No, I mean if I had to bet 100, if someone gave me $100 to bet on if Smallville the animated series is gonna happen, I would put it. I put $100 on no. What about y'all?
No, not gonna happen.
Some friend
It
James
is
Gunn's
not.
is, huh? Like, come on. Like, if I were, look, if Lance wanted his whole life to write a Batman TV show, and I became the CEO of DC Comics, I would give Lance his Batman TV show. So James Gunn, what are you doing? Like, give Michael his animated show. Yeah. I feel like Talkville was like one like part of life was like, well, if we do this, maybe we get our animated show, right? It's like, but it was
But
part
no,
of the pitch.
wasn't James saying like he wants to make like all the cartoons and video games and movies like all in one
But there's also going to
continuity?
be Elseworlds, Isaiah.
Oh, you're right. Yes, of course, of course.
But
That's why you can have two Batman, of course.
but
Yeah.
you can't make Zack Snyder Justice League 2 and 3 because not that I even want it, but the point like that I don't want those particular stories. But part of me just wants those movies to be made and exist, and then we can all heal and move on together, right? But until they are, it's never going to end. It's like
There's
Emperor
always gonna
Palpatine
be
said,
divisions.
"Civil war without end." Okay, that's where we are in the fandom. So but if we make those movies, then and make the Batfleck movie while you're at it, okay, and then we can move on. We can retire the hashtags, and I understand why people feel the way they do about on both sides, really, because if you want those things, then you're like, come on, y'all, like you promised me this, and then you took it away, and then you're making all this other stuff I don't want. Can't you just make this? But then for the people who don't want that, you're like, dude, can you guys just cool it? It's not happening, right? Like it's like that's another thing. Like there is, I'll tell you this: there's more of a chance of getting Zack Snyder Justice League Part 2 than there is Smallville the animated series. Am I right? Am I wrong? What do you guys think?
I agree.
Ooh.
That's
Ooh.
tough one though.
Yeah, that is tough.
I'm not saying it's a slam dunk, but
No, I if I had to bet on one or the other, I would think we'd see more Zack Snyder Justice League than for more Smallville.
Netflix will buy WB by then and just go ahead and make those movies. I thought no, there was a window where I really thought I'm like maybe I'll do this. HBO Max and like it's like Smallville 20th anniversary and people are getting nostalgic and they're starting this podcast like everything kind of was like the stars seem to be aligning maybe for something but now it's like I don't see it. Unfortunately, I would love it. I mean, get more content for me, more further adventures. Everybody can record in a sound booth. Tom never has to leave his house, like we were talking about. So it's fantastic.
He'll use the same podcast mic.
He
and
will
just call it a day.
It'll sound like it's over Zoom. They'll have the behind the scenes recording sessions, just him in that room with the Smallville stuff.
What are you doing? That's exactly what he's
here's what I would do. I was thinking about this, and if I was going to do the animated series, one component I would have it set after the, after the finale, but before the flash forward. When those 7 years or whatever.
Before Crisis.
When he gives up his
of
powers.
course, yeah, and that is canon, by the way. But that's that happened. Just deal with it. Right?
It's definitely canon.
I'm sorry. There's an ending to your character. I'm sorry. That's what happened. Okay, at the Clark.
But the ending was supposed to him be living forever. That's what Dr. Fate said.
That was him flying into the debris of Krypton. I thought that was my old. It's either a TV show from 2003 showing you infinity, or Superman flying into Krypton in space to die because everyone else he loved has died, which is actually very depressing. But they actually talk about that in Smallville, where he's surrounded by a graveyard. Also, Yellow S on the back of that cape.
Well,
right? Yeah. I was like, oh my god!
But ironically, no trunks on the Smallville suit.
Well, in the series finale, there's trunks.
Oof! What season 11?
That's not canon. We just established that.
I knew you're gonna.
That's the real. Well, these are the last thoughts here. We're gonna wrap it up. But if we're gonna do season 11, I would have. How do you incorporate Lionel and John Glover? You have Lex see him. And it's like a fragment of his memories trying to break through. It's like a Norman Osborn, Harry Osborn thing. And that way you can have Lionel, you can have John Glover involved in the show.
Oh, like they do with Tess in the comics?
Yes, but a better version of that in my anyway, he could represent all his repressed memories, right? Like I think that would work really well. That's the only story thread I have in mind, but I think that'd be pretty awesome. And then by the time And then like the other thing would be like Clark decides to give him a second chance, It's he's a new person, he doesn't know who he was, but secretly he does know. And that's like Superman endorses Lex Luthor for president, right? Because he thinks he's a good guy. But oh no, he's not. Anyway, there's so much potential.
Okay. So how do you bring Kristen back?
She just, hey, I got cured of my kryptonite.
Just like that, yeah.
Well, does she need to be cured though? Because
that was dumb, Chris.
I agree with that, but you already went down that path. And
well, if you're the Smallville season 11 comic book, if you consider it canon, then there's
I know they cleared her there, but
yeah,
I just mean like if you're gonna bring her back and she's still gonna have that there, they just have to not kiss. Like he can still be
not. I certainly hope they don't kiss. How about them not be around each other at all? That'd be preferable.
Well, no, yeah, I think it's like pure area or whatever. I thought.
And Chloe lives in Star City with Oliver Queen and is not in the show. Or she's voiced by Kristen Bell, one of the two.
Or we could bring her son into it,
No, the son is like, well, this is in the gap there, so he's like
he's not born
yet. Oh yeah, okay.
Just leave Chloe out of it. It's fine. We can.
Do you think that might actually be a contributing factor as to why it didn't get any ground?
I don't think so. Because you don't need her. You have Clark, Lex, Lois. Presumably, if you get Annette O'Toole in as Martha Kent, you can get Michael McKean in as Perry White, right? So like you can get John Glover in there. Like you have all the components you need. So I don't think that's.
I just think execs are probably like, this is not gonna make money. Like even if there's a strong fan base, I don't know if there's a large enough fan base for them.
I would argue it would make more money than all these animated movies they've been cranking out that nobody don't even like. The people like me even are like, oh, is there not one of these? Oh, okay, whatever. Like me.
Well, it's
like
like some of them are really good too, and it's just like the fact that they crank them out. I don't with new voice actors who haven't done the
yeah,
roles before and stuff. It's just what ones do I pay money on? What ones do I keep up with?
like this whole Tomorrowverse universe. It's like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I might be interested in that, but I mean, like I don't even know what their status is right now, and they got this Crisis movie coming out, which I
I'm
didn't
about
care
to say
about.
it's Crisis on an Earth Part 2.
But I care about it now because apparently Kevin Conroy recorded the lines for that as Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm invested. So I swear
Mm.
to God, if I go watch this 3-part Crisis movie or whatever, is it 2-part or 3-part?
Thought it's 2.
Okay, if I go watch
It
this
might be
2-part
3.
Crisis movie or whatever, and Kevin Conroy does not show up as Batman, oof.
He recorded for Kill the Justice League video game too, and I'm not touching that.
Well, yeah,
Bro, don't even talk about
that's
that.
why this is so important. Like this Crisis movie is his last performance. So because I've seen the clips. So anyway, all that to say,
Is the first one out? Is it on Max?
it
Can I
is. The
watch it?
first one is out now. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's on Max.
I'll watch it after Aquaman.
I was gonna say,
And Blue Beetle.
yeah. Oh yeah,
And
well that was
Shazam too.
yeah, Shazam too. All right, y'all. Well, that was a lot of fun. Thanks as always for being patrons and friends of the show. And Isaiah, if people want to find you out there online, where can they find you?
You know, every time you ask this, I feel like Howard Wolowitz in terms of like you have Dr. Hofstadter and Dr. Kutherpologist and Dr. Cooper. And I'm just Mr. Wolowitz in terms of both of y'all have podcasts, and I'm just a guy. But you'll catch me again in like 6 months when we do this again. Yeah.
But we'll try to do it a little more frequently. But hey, look, everybody seems cool about it. You know, nobody's bursting down the doors of Always on the Smallville HQ to do more of these. You know, we're all busy people, and I appreciate you guys still doing the patrons, and it's always fun when we can all jump on here together and we just go with the like you said, we had no agenda this time. We just kind of went some of the conversation went us. We go to a lot of the same places. So that's just who we are, right? So, but no, Isaiah, we need people like you out there. So you
Common man. Yeah.
keep being the common man. Yeah. It's like on Heroes. If everybody has powers, right? We need your Andos and your HRGs. Have you watched Heroes? Always on Heroes. You know what I'm talking
I
about?
have not.
Okay.
But
Chris,
I
you know what I'm
am
talking about.
aware.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
So yeah, keep it up, Isaiah. Don't start a podcast.
I got you.
Speaking of Chris, if people want to find you out there and your podcast, where can people find you?
Part of the Always Hold On To network. I, with my buddies Kevin and Joey, on Always Hold On To Star Wars.
Awesome. We'll be back in another 6 months or so, right? For another level 33.1. But until then, all together now. Always hold on to Smallville. If you're watching this and you're not a member of the Patreon and you would like to be part of these conversations, go to patreon.com/alwaysmallville with 1 S. As for the podcast itself, you can find us on Facebook at Always Hold On to Smallville, and you can find us on Twitter at alwaysmallville with 1 S, and you can send us an email at alwaysmallville@gmail.com, once again with 1 S. And I encourage you all to listen to our flagship show, Always Hold On to Smallville, our first spinoff, Always Hold On to Arrow, our next spinoff, Always Hold On to Savannah Lois, and then, of course, Always Hold On to Star Wars. So we have our Always Hold On to family of podcasts. We have going here the ever-expanding multiverse of our podcasts. And so if you like the conversation here, check us out, podcast form over there. No video for those. That's a whole nother format and venue we have going on over there. So there you have it. And we'll see you guys next time. And until then, always hold on to Smallville.